Hello, everyone. My name is Sakshi Jain, Head of International Business Development and Branding at RM Phosphates and Chemicals Private Limited. Driven by our passion and commitment to balanced nutrient management and bringing a nutritional revolution to Indian agricultural practices, RMPCL is here today to explore global nutritional practices for soybean cultivation. Joining me are two international agriculture experts who possess extensive knowledge of crops and farming practices from around the world. Allow me to introduce MSc Fabiano Silverstein, Global Technical Marketing Manager, Agriculture, who has more than 20 years of experience in the fertilizers market globally. Currently serving as Global Market Development Manager at US Borax, with his extensive knowledge in soil science, plant nutrition, and complete crop nutrition, he advocates balanced nutrient management in agriculture practices. I hereby welcome you, Mr. Fabiano Silverstein, in our podcast with Soybean. And we have another expert guest with us on board. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Eduardo Saldana, a dedicated doctorate agronomist with almost 2 decades of experience in soil fertility, nutritional plant diagnosis, and continuous scientific research in crop management. Currently, working as agricultural development specialist in Latin America for US Borex, his expertise in Brazilian and Latin American agricultural practices makes him a global agri practitioner. I welcome you, Dr. Saldana, onto our podcast. I start with Mr. Fabiano Silverstein. Soybean is known as golden bean. How do you see this? What is your opinion on this particular phrase named as golden bean?
Hey, good morning. Good evening for you, Sakesh. First of all, I'd like to say that's a pleasure to be with you today. Regarding your question, that's very, very good. And soybean is known as a golden bean due to its low glycemic index, low saturated fat, cholesterol-free properties, and the numerous nutrition benefits. As you know, soybean is one of the important food crops, which is rich in protein and vegetable oil. And soybean is the only legume with an ample amount of essential omega-3. And now, which is very important, the concentration of biotin in soybean is higher when compared to other vegetables and fruits.
It means soybean is just not a golden bean, but a powerful bean as well.
Yeah, and it's important to say that soybean it's very important in Americas, for example, Brazil, US, Argentina, Paraguay, and it's good to see that more recently this crop is growing in India as well. So last year I had the opportunity to visit in India, and I had the opportunity to talk with some farmers, and I could see that this crop is increasing a lot in the past, I think, 5, 10 years. So it's good to see.
Tell me one thing, soybean is a very important crop in Brazil as well. In fact, Brazil, the United States of America are top two soybean producing countries. So, what are the practices the farmers follow in these countries in terms of seed treatment, soil preparation, sowing to harvesting, nutrient management, and the post harvest care, by for which they are known to be the top two producing countries?
Okay, so as you mentioned, soybean it's important in Americas in general. So Brazil recently became the largest producer of soybean in the world. followed by US. Argentina and Paraguay in South America are important producers of soybean as well. So, as you know, I'm Brazilian. My father, my brother are soybean growers. I grew up in a soybean farm. So I will provide my comments based on my experience in Brazil. So, in terms of soil preparation, in general, Brazilian farmers prefer no tillage system. So, in the past, was common in Brazil the use of tillage system, but more recently, I can tell you the past 20 years. So Brazilian farmers, they are using more and more the no tillage system. This is very important. So in terms of nutrients management, so all macronutrients and micronutrients are important for soybean. Just for you have an idea, we already mentioned about the nitrogen. So farmers, they don't use a nitrogen fertilizer in soybean crops. They just use the inoculation with Bradyrhizobium japonicum. In terms of phosphorus, the recommended amount of phosphorus in soybean crops is between 40 to 120 kilograms of P2O5 per hectare. So this is very important. Phosphorus is very, very important for soybean. The same thing with potash. The recommended amount of potash, it's between 50 to 130 kilograms per hectare of K2O. So when farmers will apply more or less phosphorus and potash in their crops, it depends on the soil analysis result. If the soil has a higher amount of phosphorus and potash, farmers will apply less. If the soils are poor in terms of phosphorus and potash, then farmers, they need to apply more. So, but everything is based on the soil analysis. Another thing that's very important for soybean, it's sulfur, because sulfur is related to the formation of the protein. So on average, soybean farmers, they needed to apply 30 kilograms per hectare of sulfur. So sulfur, it's very important for soybean. In terms of micronutrients, boron it's another nutrient which is very, very important. Boron is actively involved with the flowering process and the correct formation of seeds. Boron is also important for the root growth and also helps in the process of nitrogen fixation by root nodules in the soybean crop. So, and the recommended amount of boron in soybean crops is between 1 and 2 kilograms of B per hectare. Manganese, it's important as well. And the recommended amount of manganese is between 3 and 6 kilograms per hectare. Zinc is important as well, between 1.5 and 3 kilograms per hectare. And we already mentioned about the cobalt and molybdenum, but cobalt and molybdenum will provide both nutrients through the seed treatment. And the correct amount of cobalt is between 2 and 4 grams, not the kilos. In that case, it's grams. Cobalt between 2 and 4 grams per hectare, and molybdenum between 20 and 50 grams per hectare. So, yeah, I think we cover everything in this question.
Absolutely. I mean, You have very well explained that the role of nutrients and how much quantity should be required. Because I believe in India, people generally do not tend to think that deep. And the practices that you are sharing is quite insightful. And I'm sure that what you have told is going to help here also. And all the nutrients, whatever you have mentioned about the phosphorus, potash, even the small quantity of molybdenum is also playing a big role. This is what I have understood from your explanation. Dr. Eduardo, I have next question to you again. As you've just summarize what Fabiano has mentioned regarding the nutrients. There are so many nutrients that we had spoken about, but would it be possible to say the most important nutrients that soybean crop require? And how do these interaction of micro and macronutrients affect the soybean nutrient uptake cycle?
Important question that you bring for our discussion, because there is no one nutrient more important than others. Farmers generally, it's common in different regions, in Brazil, in other countries of the world, considering only NPK. NPK is more common in terms of fertilizer, in terms of use for farmers. But we need to consider that there are 17 essential elements for high plants. Farmers need to have this information, need to have methods to evaluate the soil. The main method is the use of soil analysis, chemical analysis of the soil, to evaluate the potentiality of the soil in terms of release these nutrients, these mineral elements to the plants. We have in this table 5 information: the element, the chemical symbol, the discover, the person or the researchers that working in discover, the comprovation of the essentiality of the nutrients, the year of the discovered, and the average concentration. We can see all lists of the nutrients. Are you ready? Because this is important. Carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen are the main nutrients. And in general, these 3 nutrients the plants acquire by the water and the air. We don't have concern in terms of offer to the plant in fertilization, these 3 elements. But when we have other nutrients as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, boron, copper, iron, manganese, zinc, chlorine, molybdenum, and the last, nickel. Generally, the soils are the main source of these elements, but when doesn't have the sufficient quantity in the soil, it's the moment to apply by fertilization. In terms of quantity, we have a division here, of course. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur are called macronutrients. And boron, copper, iron, manganese, zinc, chlorine, molybdenum, and nickel are called micronutrients. The only difference between these 2 groups are the quantity of their demands. But in terms of the importance, they are exactly the same. If, for example, plants don't have a good quantity of zinc, in one grade, in one level, the yield, the productivity will be impacted. The other point that you mentioned, Saskia, in terms of interaction, we can have 2 kinds of interaction. The first one is the synergistic interaction, and the second one is antagonist interaction. I will put 2 examples in terms of interaction. The first, we have the relation synergistic interaction. This is simple, is when the presence of one element can improve the absorption, the use of the other element. For example, nitrate, when we have nitrate in the soil, the researchers have comprovation that we have increase in absorption of calcium, magnesium, and potassium. There is a synergic interaction between nitrate and potassium, magnesium, and calcium. There is the explanation about these are chemical interaction, the formation of ionic pair of with this element that improve the way of the plant can have access to this element. In the other hand, we have the antagonist relationship. For example, the chlorine can inhibit the boron absorption. For example, it's common when we have the use, an intensive use of potassium chloride. I have difficulty into pronunciation this. Chlorate de potassium, Fabiano, help me. Potassium chloride is mute, Fabiano.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
It's potash chloride, KCl.
Yes.
KCl.
Yes. KCl, when the farmers use high rates, high doses of KCl, can have an inhibition of in terms of boron nutrition, because chloride is an anion as boron as well in soil. There are different researches, different experience in other crops that we have the presence of boron deficiency when there are high rates of KCl in field. This is important. Always remember that plant nutrition is much more equilibrium than high rates or low rates. Equilibrium is the word in terms of plant nutrition.
Very, very beautifully explained. I mean, it was so amazed to understand this interaction between these nutrients. We have never thought of that way. All we know that nutrients are important, but I think experts like you have this strength and power to explain such critical complex concepts in a easier words. Very beautifully explained. So, Dr. Eduardo, I have another question to you because I'm so mesmerized understanding this concept more. So, here comes my another question. What are what are the critical growth stage, like we have discussed already that this is how the interaction work. Now, what are the critical growth stages that you think in soybean crop where these micronutrient uptake is very, very important?
For example, we have here a kind of experiment that you use in research, plant nutrition research. This technique is called a missing element technique. We can see 3 examples here. Soybean cultivate with a solution contains all nutrients that are necessary to the plant. And we have 2 treatments with exclusion of manganese and with exclusion of zinc. Always when we have exclusion of each individual element, we have damage in plant, in roots and in aerial part. We can see in a clear, with this clear image, how the plant is impacted with the absence of manganese and zinc. In the next slide, you can pass, please.
Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. Yes. we can see in the same idea, with the same idea, we have two agronomists in camp to show a plant of soybean cultivate with all nutrients. And here we have the absence of boron. There is a direct impact in root development, as Fabiano explained. Boron have a direct interaction with the formation of auxin or hormone of increase in plant in tissues of plants, and we have the impact of the boron absence in plants. And the next slide, I believe, is we have another image, the same image, but other angle. We can see how important is to consider the complete offer in terms of nutrition in plants. I will now to answer the last question that you do. You will repeat the question, or I can to begin the answer?
Yeah, so we've understood that how these micronutrient and micronutrients are playing their very, very vital role. So now we want to understand that what how micronutrients play an important role in improving soybean disease resistivity and stress tolerance, because we all know that soybean crop is highly disease, it catches diseases very quickly if not being taken care very well. So how do you think that micronutrients play a role there?
Yes, good question as well. I will use boron as an example. We needed to consider that each nutrient have a special functionality, special role in plants. I will use boron as an example. We don't have time enough to explore all nutrients, but the idea is to show the people that are here in this podcast how important is each nutrient in terms of role. You can put the next slide. I will speak with the use of slide. For example, we have one special role that boron have in plant is in this stage of development called germination and polytube formation. We have the importance of boron in biological floration is a special stage of plant phenological phase, because it is this in this stage that the producer are made. One of the most important phase of boron is during exactly this phase, the flowering period, because there is some botanical details in terms of the cells division, that boron have a special role, that is to formation the cell wall. In this stage of flowering, there is an intense division cell. With this intense division, there is a high demand, a strong demand for boron, because boron is part of the structure of cell wall. If we don't have boron in correct level in soil, plant will be not have capacity to have a good formation of the flowers, because flowers have a accelerate reproduction. For example, when we talk about the increase of pollen tube, this meaning cell reproduction in a high speed, So the high concentrations of boron are required to pollen tube growth to occur. This is one example that I use boron, as I mentioned, but each element have a special function as well. To back your first the second question when we mention about the interaction of the micronutrient. For example, zinc in this stage is extremely important as well because zinc stimulates, as I mentioned in the first point, auxin that are hormone of increase. There is no effect isolate in plants, in plant nutrition. They work together. That's it.
Fabiano, now I have a question with you. Do farmers in Brazil or in USA face any disease issues in soybean crop? Like in India, it is very, very common. So, what is the scenario in Brazil or in Latin American countries, and how do they cure these problems?
Okay, that's a very good question. There are several diseases that happen in soybean crops. So, especially fungal disease. So, and the main fungal disease in soybean is called, this is everywhere in South America and in US as well. So it's called Asian soybean rust. In the past, it was a big problem, but I can tell you nowadays, this disease can be easily controlled by modern fungicides that are available on the market. So, of course, there are other diseases, but this one is the most important. And if the farmers sorry, if the farmers they don't apply any type of fungicides in their crops, they can lose almost 100% of the harvest, the crop. So that disease is it's very important.
I can sense that because in India the scenario is something similar, and that's why I think now farmers have started paying their attention towards seed treatment before sowing to avoid some sort of fungal diseases and to save their crops. And what about the yield output? How much do they produce in general on an average?
So the average soybean yield in Brazil is around the 3,500 kilograms per hectare. But it's very common farmers harvesting more than, sorry, 5,000 kilograms per hectare of soybean. That's very, very common in all Brazilian regions. So, but it's important to mention that in the past, the soybean yield in Brazil the average was lower than 25 kilograms per hectare. And the things have been changed because growers are applying more and more technology, not only in terms of fertilization, but in terms of seeds. Seeds companies are investing a lot in technology. Farmers are applying more fungicides, are controlling the crops, applying insecticides as well, applying all nutrients that the crop require. And this is the reason why the soybean yield in Brazil has been increasing.
No, that's really, really wonderful and commendable because in India, the average is not even touching it anywhere. And like you have rightly said, technology is playing a very big role. And I think this is where Indian farmers are lacking when it comes to pay attention towards soybean crop. So, is there anything that either of you can assist and tell us how can we change their perception regarding soybean crop? Because In India, the situation or scenario is that they don't want to invest into any kind of nutrient management in soybean because they think either it does not require or it just a waste. Like you said, that in Brazil the situation was similar earlier, but people have changed. So, how can we change Indian farmer perspective with this situation that they are handling as of now?
Yes, Sakish. So it's important to mention that soybean require technology. So this is the most important thing. So when farmers use the right technology in their crops, uh, they will have a good yield results. So as I mentioned, in the past, Brazilian farmers also believed that soybean was a rust crop. And they believed that they didn't need to apply all nutrients in the crop. But today, this concept has been changed, and farmers can see the good results in the field in terms of yield when they apply the correct technology. Not only about, of course, now we are more focused because we work with fertilizer, but not only about fertilizer. Fertilizer is very important as well, but farmers, they are concerned about everything, about, as I mentioned, seed, disease control, the soil management, and also the fertilization, correct fertilization, because Brazil is a tropical country. Most of soils are poor in terms of nutrient. Same thing in India, and it's important farmers pay attention in the fertilizers and the content of nutrients in the soil. And the one thing that's very important, it's the soil analysis. Soil analysis and the also plant analysis, it's important in terms of nutrient management in soybean.
I'm really confident that this insightful discussion around this nutritional management will significantly contribute to transform the landscape of soybean farming in India. Because we believe if we introduce some global best practices, we have sown the seed of change. In Hindi, we say, "Badlav ka beej boya hai." The seed of change has been sown, and I firmly believe that through our continued and dedicated efforts, we will soon take pride in seeing our golden bean achieving yields comparable to the global practices and standards. And this can only happen with some experts like you. Now, I have two questions that probably either of you can answer. In the beginning, you mentioned about the importance of sulfur in soybean crop. We want to know when the farmer is using single superphosphate as phosphate and SSP contains sulfur. So, even having sulfur in SSP, which is going anyway in the crop, does the farmer require to add sulfur again separately?
As Fabiano mentioned, about your question, Sansky, SSP is a important fertilizer because the first is a source of phosphorus, of course, but we have in additional two nutrients as calcium and sulfur that are important not only for the plant, We have, if the farmers apply SSP in a in a application located close to the root of the plant, in lining, for example, the calcium has an important role in soil, is formation, the structure of the soil. There is a reaction of calcium with clay in the soil, that possibility the extracturation. Calcium is an element that possibility the flocculation of the soil. We have a good physical environment near to the roots of the plant. This is an impact of the fertilizer in the soil. Additionally, we have calcium for the plant, of course, as an important element, as Fabiano mentioned, and especially sulfur, because the soybean is a crop that have in the end of the chain a protein crop. Sulfur has an important role in amino acid formation. That is the base of the protein formation. I believe that, as Fabiano mentioned as well, SSP is one of the best source of the crops, not only for the soybean, but in general, because we discuss.
I have one more question to you, Dr. Eduardo, which is again a technical and a very common thing that happen in India. So what happened if wheat is a winter crop in India? And in many of the areas, when there is a wheat sowing going on, they add the nutrients. Now, once the wheat is done, they do not sow anything. They directly sow soybean in monsoon. Since they have used potash in winter crop like wheat, is it still necessary to use potash in soybean crop? Because in India, the farmer have the perception that whatever they have put up in wheat crop is there in the soil, and this is going to be used by soybean also. So they totally avoid potash altogether. So what is your opinion and your expertise say about the situation?
It's a excellent question. At the same time, it's a difficult to answer because each crop has our own needs. Each crop have your own needs. To the farmers, the main recommendation is for each crop, I need to supply the needs of this cycle. If the farmer use fertilizer, as you mentioned, potassium, phosphorus for a winter crop, uh, he needs to know if there is elements enough in the soil to ensure the supply of the next crop. And the best way to know this is using the main tool to evaluate the soil fertility. That is the soil analysis. If you have a soil analysis, the moment when the winter crop finish, we can evaluate that if the level of potassium, sulfur, phosphorus, and the other one, it's enough to ensure the growing and the productivity, the yield of the next crop. Because there is difficult to have a exactly answer. To evaluate is the secret of the success in terms of fertilization.
Yeah, soil analysis is the key to all the questions that are there in everyone's mind. I totally get your point. So, I am here at the closing point of this very insightful session with both of you experts. And I would really like to extend my heartfelt thanks to both of you for graciously sharing your time and valuable insights, which will undoubtedly support our mission to build a nutrition rich nation. So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your valuable insights, which are going to help us in a big, big, long way, because we believe when you start a change, that change is about to happen and it will happen. So the fight of this nutri revolution for soybean crop is going on, and I'm sure that very soon we'll end it up, and you'll see India with a very good yield output for soybean crop globally. Thank you so much, Mr. Silverstein and Mr.
Thank you.
Eduardo, Dr. Eduardo, for your valuable time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.